It's official. I just flipped a $12.9 million jet aircraft for a profit after flying it for my startup and myself for 3 years and over 800 hours. I could not be more grateful for this opportunity, and I have to say I'm absolutely blown away. Like, somebody pinch me. How is it possible that after 3 years, that's us, my flight instructor was filming my takeoff. It's like, I love aviation. Like, the pilot community is so cool. I love everybody in it, and flying is so freaking thrilling. But how was it possible that after 3 years of flying this aircraft and using it, I was able to sell it for a profit? And where do we go now? What's the next plane? What's the next project? Why did I sell it? Did I have any intentions of becoming a jet pilot and then selling the aircraft? We're gonna break all of that down. But I have to start with something very, very important, and that is a massive thank you. None of everything that I do, whether it's the ringing the bell at the New York Stock Exchange, becoming a jet pilot, or providing value on YouTube would be possible if it weren't for you, the viewers. You make it possible for me as a dad of 7 children to come here almost every single day and do my best to provide value. And thank you for watching. Thank you for joining the Meet Kevin Alpha Reports, because I'm not unique in being the only person who works hard. I think a lot of people work hard. But I do think it's pretty remarkable that over 2 million of you subscribe to me, and that over 4,000 of you actually wake up before the market opens to join me in private course member live streams where we break down the catalysts for the day, technical analysis for the day, fundamental analysis for the short, medium, and long term. We go through all of this. And here, you can see the stats. This is just from the last week, even while I was in Hawaii. Y'all are showing up with over 3,000, 4,000 of you are showing up in a private live stream just to get my insights on the markets and what's going on with fundamentals. So thank you. I really appreciate that. And none of what you're going to see in this video would be possible without you. Thank you for watching, and thank you for joining that Meet Kevin membership. Remember, for those of you who join, you get lifetime access to it. If you haven't joined yet, you could consider joining using the coupon code Schumer Siesta. That'll expire on a Wednesday. And a lot of people say this could be a tax write-off. A lot of people have, by the way, been in this since 2017, and they've been getting this value. They paid once back then, and they've been getting value since then. It's pretty remarkable. But for now, seriously, the thank you, I don't want to go into this video without being crystal clear that this would have not happened if it weren't for you. I'm 32, being a solo jet pilot, rated pilot. I can't even get the words out correctly. Crazy, absolutely wild, and I'm so grateful for the opportunity. Now, with that said, let's talk money, because that's what's on everybody's mind. Well, usually. This jet sale is not about a lack of work or money. There's plenty of work. Every single day, we, like I say, provide, I think, great value, and you make it all possible. That said, there's plenty of cash for me to not only keep paying the aircraft if I wanted to, or invest it into HouseHack, or just sell the aircraft and pay my taxes. Instead, this is all about the mission. And so what I learned will be in the timestamps below, but spoiler alert, and I think I'm being very, very public about this, so I don't think it's insider information if I'm talking about it on YouTube. But what I'm seeing right now with HouseHack's artificial intelligence, which we call Reinvest AI, it's the same company, which we really started going heavy into in about April of 2025. That's also conveniently when I became licensed as a jet pilot. Well, what I'm seeing, Reinvest AI, which you can see at reinvest.co, I won't bore you with all of it, but what I'm seeing here is so exciting with what we're doing with our artificial intelligence that I think our alpha release that's coming up, our beta release that's coming up, and what we've got in terms of project plans for 2026 are so massive that I would rather take extra money that I have now and plow every dime into HouseHack one way or another. Now, HouseHack never paid for the aircraft, but money that I have that's extra, I could give to HouseHack or invest into HouseHack, right? See, here we are with the stock market, gold, Bitcoin, all of them are trading near all-time highs. And in my opinion, I'm looking and going, okay, do I want to buy these companies at all-time highs, or would I rather plow much more money into a company that's a private stock trading for $1.40 a share, that's based on a broker dealer valuation who gave it a valuation of $1.40 to $2 in August of 2024. That's over a year ago. That's back when the company had a lot more staff. Because of that, wasn't making money or anywhere near as much money as we're making now. It had zero AI ambitions at that point. And now the opposite is true. We're cranking money. We've ridiculously lowered our costs. We're plowing money into research and development because we're about to launch this real estate AI SaaS, which I personally will believe will be the best real estate artificial intelligence that exists in the entire world. This is not just like some crazy LLM wrapper. It's literally our own trained data and machine learning data based on my experience in real estate. And I think as a result of that, we could explode the valuation of this. So I'm like, do I burn money on jet fuel, or do I throw money into this stock at $1.40 a share, the old valuation, and I get a 5% yield on top of that? Again, like, dear SEC and to all those, like, I'm very public about this. This is not a solicitation. Like, if you want to invest, you go to reinvest.co or househack.com, same company. I'm really optimistic. I'm the CEO. I'm not making any guarantees. Like, I've made mistakes in the past. I'm just really hopeful here, and I could be wrong, but like, to me, every single time I'm at an airport and they're like, all right, here's your fuel bill for $2,000. Like, you go to a gas station, it's like $2,000. Like, you know how many shares at $1.40 I could get my hands on at HouseHack with this? And if those 10x, that's like a $20,000 a fuel bill. And if those 100x, that's like a $200,000 fuel bill every single time. And $2,000 of fuel goes really fast. Anyway, let's get into some actual aircraft details here. But that was one of the realizations that I came up with. I'm like, bro, everything's so freaking expensive right now. That's a dirt cheap opportunity. So that's just like in the back of my mind, okay? So keep that in the back of my mind. Now, I never had any intentions of selling the aircraft. And even though as exciting as it is to plow money into my real estate startup, and now AI startup, I never had the intention of actually selling the aircraft until I started getting multiple offers. I started getting multiple offers for hundreds of thousands of dollars more than what I paid for the aircraft 3 years ago in December of 2022. Now, obviously, in the meantime, there are going to be operating costs, but that's normal. I mean, that's the price you pay for travel, so I see that as somewhat independent. But I'm blown away that the actual asset would have gone up in value. And so I never thought I'd sell the plane. In fact, when you buy a plane, you pretty frequently get tons of broker text messages all the time. People send you messages all the time. It's like mind-blowing. It's just like, hey, Kevin, you want to sell? You want to sell? I'm like, all the time I would politely tell folks, no, please, like, go pound sand. Politely, respectfully, go away. I'm not selling the aircraft. I'm using the aircraft. Well, then the big, beautiful bill passed. They brought back the 100% bonus depreciation on the aircraft, which that expired in 2022, which is when I bought. And I got multiple offers for more than what I paid for the plane. In part, thank you, Donald Trump. And it was at that point that I'm like, wait a sec. You're telling me I could sell this bird that I flew for 800 hours for a profit. And now the extra money that I have, I could just plow into my real estate startup right before we launch our AI? Bro, this is just... I would be an idiot to say no to that. Like, these things all like independently lined up as puzzle pieces that I never thought would line up. And then when they lined up, I was looking at this painting and I'm like, bro, I would be a dumbass not to do this. How could I not do this, right? So I think the profit on the aircraft ended up netting to about $69,000, which is kind of insane because the tail number from day one was 69 for PP. Which is kind of like a fate loves irony situation where you look at that tail number, like, yeah, 69 for PP, and it's like, yeah, you got $69,000 for your private plane in profit. Huh. But I wanted to take a moment and just recognize or help people think about this for a moment. I bought an aircraft with like 140 hours. I sold it with like 950 hours, which is like 800 something hours of flight time. I used it to help explode a startup from a $0 money raise situation to over a $100 million valuation with over $80 million in cash and real estate and no bank debt. Again, thank you to all of my subscribers. And I now sold the very aircraft that helped me build the foundations of the company with no cost to that company for a profit. Now, also balance that with the fact that if there actually ends up being a recession, which I'm like on a teeter-totter of, right? Like we're probably like 60% shot of not having a recession here, like we just soft land, but there's enough that says there's a good 40% chance of us tanking into a recession that takes 10 years to get out of because it's impossible to get jobs back. It's possible. If there's a recession, the value of this freaking plane's gonna tank. In addition to that, you still have to pay the debt, right? Because I had a loan on the aircraft. Now I don't. Now I'm literally debt free because I also paid off my homes. Because at the point where we are in the market, I personally am just of the mindset that I don't really want debt. And that's why my startup doesn't have bank debt either. That's it. What about the next jet? So everybody wants to know, all right, Kevin, so like you got rid of the Phenom, like what's the next jet going to be? So the reality is, for now, mission accomplished. The first and hardest part for HouseHack was finding our footings of deploying real estate in various different parts of the Western United States, while also exploring Texas and Florida, and realizing in 2022 and 23 that those were not the best places to invest, which I'm very grateful of because prices tanked over there up to 25%, whereas where we ended up buying, prices actually went up. And I credit my many hundreds of hours of research and flying to these areas for that. So this was a lot of work, but we don't really need to do that at the moment. We've deployed almost all of our capital. We just bought an extra 10 properties for the startup. We're going to actually take a little break on buying right now because we just bought another 10 properties. We got to renovate them and fill them with wonderful families or renters or whatever. So we've got a lot of work to do, and we don't really need to fly for that work. So I realized I was kind of paying for the aircraft for it to sit around or be my training aircraft. And that doesn't make a lot of sense. We'll talk about training in just a moment because I really love flying the aircraft. Like I actually kind of enjoyed going out and training, but I have to say it does get a little old. Like here's me over the coast of Santa Barbara, which is absolutely and ridiculously beautiful, going to stall the aircraft. We actually just had a couple of professional pilots stall a Hawker and crash it and die. Like I always felt really safe, but SH-9T happens, right? And so here you can see the airspeeds go into like 96. I'm there you go. Now this is our stall pusher breaking me into a stall, and you gotta make sure not to double stall the aircraft. Point the nose down a little bit, get some speed, and come back to a climb. Now I'm at 150 knots. It's a jet aircraft, so it's pretty fun. Like there's some cool things you could do with it, whether it's steep turns or flying through the clouds, like breaking out of the clouds to do a touch and go into Santa Barbara. Like this is top G stuff. This isn't like Andrew Tate top G where he's just a poser. This is like, I think this is top G. Like, this is actually freaking awesome, right? I love this. But let's be real. Saturday morning, do I want to go do stalls over Santa Barbara, or do I want to go spend time with my beautiful 7 children or my wife? See, and we'll get into this in the piloting aspect and the training aspect, but over the last 18 months, I would argue HouseHack really maybe utilized the plane about 10 hours, and HouseHack never paid a dime for it. The board hated that I was flying, by the way. They're like, Kevin, this is too risky. You should not be flying. We know you're flying with professionals and you're doing a great job here, but it's still too risky. It's not worth it. Like, focus on HouseHack AI. This is a touch and go into Santa Barbara. Well, it's actually not a touch and go. A touch and go is what you would do with a Cirrus. This would be a bulk to landing at about 50 feet is what you would call it in a jet. But I mean, like, this is beautiful. This is awesome, right? This is so cool. Like, I get giddy about the idea of this. But I get it. There's some risks associated with this, right? Anyway, so the mission for right now is done. The mission will come back though. And so that's where it's worth talking about the next jet and how I would handle the next jet. When it comes to the next jet, I'll tell you when we're gonna buy it after I say this. I have so much respect for the aviation industry now that even though I've got like 600 hours or whatever, maybe 100 hours of jet time, multi-engine jet time, I'm going to be clear about this. I don't think I'm going to be the pilot anymore. I have so much of a respect for the aviation industry and the true professionals who put tens of thousands of hours into this industry. I'm honored to have been a part of it for the time that I was a part of it. I've really enjoyed it. I loved passing the tests, honestly. Like, it's a personal accomplishment to pass tests and to like get these certifications. I feel like an individual who, you know, had a great opportunity to be this pilot and go pick up a donut for Happy National Pilots Day at the Signature, you know, Aviation or whatever. That's cool. But I realize the amount of effort that it takes to stay great and to really butter those landings all of those times is just not what I'm interested in putting in, especially at a time when I need to be focused on growing my startup. So in other words, I think I was a great pilot when I was flying all of the time, but as I flew less, I realized my ability to nail those landings with butter started to kind of melt away. And so it took consistent training every weekend almost to be a great pilot. And I feel like after my training was complete, I went from great to good, and I don't want to be a good pilot. And I don't have the interest in spending the time to be a great pilot when I want to spend these weekends with my family. That's the point after all. So when am I going to buy a new aircraft? Well, I'll set some rules. I believe that not only are we going to use professional pilots the next time we have an aircraft, but there are 3 ways we would buy a new aircraft for HouseHack. Number 1, our AI valuation explodes. If our AI valuation explodes for HouseHack, in other words, we release our AI product, you know, it's going to be an alpha day 1, then it's going to go into beta. But like, if it picks up mainstream in 2026, HouseHack's valuation is going to explode. If that happens, we're going to have a lot of money. And just like the name of the company is Reinvest, we're going to reinvest that money into real estate. So we're always going to be an asset-backed company. And that's what makes me really excited is we've got like the 3 tabs here, Reinvest AI, then we have our building and renovation side, but then we also have the real estate ownership side where we take nasty homes and we make them beautiful so people can live in them, right? And we also build new homes so we contribute to new housing for our neighborhoods. Like, this is what we do. You can see all of this at reinvest.com. But anyway, if our AI valuation explodes, we'll need another aircraft to go expand to the East Coast. I would love to go buy Brooklyn real estate, Florida real estate, go buy the dip on Toronto real estate. I'd love, love, love nothing more than to buy East Coast American real estate. But for right now, until our AI valuation explodes, it's not necessary because frankly, real estate is very capital intensive and we don't have any more capital. Like, we've already invested the capital. So until our AI valuation explodes, we don't really need to buy that much more real estate. And once it's rented out, it's kind of easy. You don't really have to go visit it all the time once it's rented out. Second potential is that our tokenization strategy explodes and we end up reinvesting a lot more into real estate because we get, you know, some crazy crypto inflows or whatever through our tokenization strategy, which I think will be a big win for all of the HouseHack shareholders. So that would be number 2, which would also then lead probably in the future, like, the only way HouseHack will do it is if we have so much freaking money, but HouseHack will just buy the next plane. And again, I expect that would only happen if our AI valuation explodes and we need it, or our tokenization strategy explodes and we need it, or who knows, we raise a lot more money, like the Saudi wealth fund calls me up and says, Kevin, we love what you do with American real estate. We love wedge deals. Here's $2 billion. Then we'd be like, all right, we'll go buy a plane because we're going to make a whole lot of money with it. Right? Like, those are the 3 ways I see buying an aircraft again in the future. Or we IPO and the IPO goes really, really well, right? Which it's possible that if these things can happen in combination. If our AI and tokenization or investor strategy or whatever really takes off, and then we IPO and we raise even more money, then obviously we'd use a company aircraft to go deploy real estate on the other side of the country or whatever. Now, here's the aircraft strategy I would go with professional pilots should the time come to go buy another aircraft. Obviously, dear SEC, no plans to buy an aircraft right now. I just want to be very clear about that. This is also not a solicitation or a promise that the company is going to blow up with all of these really cool verticals. So no guarantees. I'm an optimistic CEO. But the aircraft that we would choose would be either, actually probably a combination. It would probably be a used Gulfstream 600 or 650. You could get a 10-year-old like 550 or 600 Gulfstream for around $24 million, or potentially a 650 for closer to $30 million. Like, there's no reason to buy a new one of these for 80. It's insane. Just get them at the bottom end of their depreciation curve. And these would be great with 2 professional pilots. I ain't gonna fly it. For West Coast to East Coast expansion, because they're gonna get me to the other side of the country with no stops, and they'll be comfortable enough to sleep on without some of the downsides of needing to stop for fuel or not being able to make it to places like Hawaii, which would be another great place to invest. Especially buying the dip on Lahaina, for example, with the burn lots. Very sad what happened there. But anyway, they need infrastructure, they need the development, they need the investors, and it'll be great in the longer term. But anyway, a larger aircraft would be great for those purposes. However, the Phenom 300, which is a fantastic business jet, is the most popular business jet in the world. It's backlogged for multiple years. Almost every single Phenom is selling for more than MSRP right now because of the backlog for these aircraft. NetJets buys them like crazy because they're really fuel efficient, which is somewhat of an asterisk because when you look at the fuel burn for a Phenom 300, they advertise it as a 165 gallon per hour fuel burn, but that's only at max cruise. So I remember I was sitting at 45,000 feet one day and I'm all the way up at altitude, and I'm like, hey, wait a second here. Why is my fuel burn so high at these lower altitudes? Compared to where we are now. And then I go to calculate it and I'm like, wait, when I'm at lower altitudes, my fuel burn is probably somewhere around double what my fuel burn is when I go into, when I'm at 45,000 feet. And the advertising people, they advertise you the best fuel economy when you're at 45,000. But I'm not at 45,000 feet all the time. Because when I'm taking off or I'm landing or I'm doing shorter flights, I'm often coasting at, in the 20s or low 30s. Obviously, coming into land, I'm burning twice as much fuel when I'm doing this kind of stuff. This is Heber, by the way, really, really tough airport to land in. It's a very, very narrow runway, very dangerous, no instrument approaches, all visual, very bad in the weather. I would never go into here in the weather. And, this is a stressful landing. I'm just getting anxiety just looking at the landing. It's a great landing. Freaking buttered this sucker. Did a great job, but still stressful. So anyway, the fuel burn was a little bit misleading. Anyway, fuel burn, very efficient aircraft. Either way, you slice it. And I get why NetJets buys them, but if you're coming into fuel stop, you kind of ruin some of that anyway. I think NetJets just does a lot of really short, 1 to 2 hour flights, and the Phenoms are great for those. And that's why there's such a backlog on them. But I don't think I would buy another Phenom. As much as I like Embraer and support them, I would buy a Gulfstream for those coast-to-coast expansions. There are just way more Gulfstream pilots than there are Parader pilots. And I would buy a Vision Jet or an SR-22 Turbo for closer distance stuff. See, there are times where I'll fly the Phenom, or I'd fly the Phenom and I need to get into a 4,500 foot runway. And I'm like, all right, cool. We're going to get into a 4,500 foot runway. This is cool. Oh, wait, it's wet and it's not grooved. Okay, well, if it's wet and it's not grooved, do I really want to go land on a 4,500 foot runway with the Phenom? And the answer is no. It's too risky. I want more of a margin of safety. So I was just looking at some more clips here to see if I could find another runway landing. We showed you this one. I'll pull up another runway landing. But coming into land on a wet runway that's too short, hell no. So all of a sudden you're finding yourself in, turbulent situations or weather situations or whatever, where you're like, am I going to go into a 4,500 foot runway, which is where I need to go in a Phenom jet, or am I going to go to a larger runway and be safe? Great. Then I go to the larger runway and I'm safe, but then I didn't save any time taking the jet. So ironically, for a lot of the places we would go for HouseHack, we needed the ability to land on smaller runways, 4,500, 4,000, 3,800, and an SR-22 Turbo or a Vision Jet would be perfect for those situations. So the Phenom was in this sort of too small to get East Coast consistently without stops, but too big to be that near flyer, everyday flyer, where I can't even land on Catalina Island, for example. Not that I'm buying real estate on Catalina Island, but it's kind of cool. You're better off with these, which this is like a, what was this? This was probably the SR-22. Love this aircraft, by the way. These are really, really cool aircraft. I think this is Kingman. Man, I freaking love the Kingman Cafe. But anyway, these are cool, Oh, this was, I think I did a soft field on this where you just yeet it up here. Oh man, the G's you feel there. So freaking fun. But anyway, so excellent aircraft. So SR-22, Cirrus jets, or Cirrus prop planes, amazing. You get the CAPS parachute system. Vision jets, also single engine, CAPS parachute system, great aircraft. Or just Gulfstream if you're gonna go cross country, right? Phenom, great if you wanna go charter people around, which I thought about for a while. I'm like, I became pilot, I'm like, hey, maybe I could like charter people around. But then I'm like, nah, man, the amount of training that I would have to do to consistently butter landings, I just want to spend the time with my family. I'm not going to do this. I'd rather build a greenhouse than do this over and over again. So, professional pilots for the future. In the meantime, if we really need to get somewhere, I'll just use NetJets or Wheels Up, or frankly, just fly commercial, which isn't that bad. Like, I just flew to Hawaii on a commercial flight. I used my Air of Miles. I had points with JP Morgan on the Sapphire card. I freaking hate JP Morgan. I'm gonna make a separate video on them, but I had some leftover points, so I burned them on a first class flight to Japan. Well, I paid for my whole trip to Japan and Hawaii, and absolutely loved flying to Hawaii. The United Airlines crew took us in the cockpit. They made the kids a little like paper airplane. These people pamper you. The United crew, true professionals. Hawaiian Airlines crew, true professionals. And they have Starlink. And I'm like, bro, I didn't even have Starlink on the Phenom. When I bought the Phenom, I was promised that Starlink would be available in Q1 2023, and it never became available. And so when I went in to cancel in September of 2025, like 2.5 years later, this is like Elon time or something. They're like, no, don't ask for your $155,000 back. Please, we'll install it in a few months. And I'm like, nah, man, just cancel it at this point. So they actually did give me my money back. But it's crazy because the Starlink was amazing on Hawaiian, and I realized the best Starlink is somebody else's Starlink. Mind you, also I have Starlink on the Cybertruck, and in some areas, T-Mobile is faster than Starlink. T-Mobile in LA was giving me 900 megabits down and 90 up. And Starlink on the Cybertruck was giving me 150 down and 10 up, which basically means T-Mobile was 5 to 10 times faster, depending on if it was down or up. That's crazy. But Starlink on a plane is pretty clutch. I could just never get it on the Phenom, even though I paid for it. Thanks, Elon. So the other thing to consider is that when you look at companies like NetJets versus Wheels Up, the break even of using these charter aircraft companies for shorter distance flights rather than like international, where you should really just fly commercial, it's just not that bad, and you don't save that much money. You don't save that much time using a charter or your own aircraft. You actually just burn a lot of money, and it's not worth it. If charters are great for like 45-minute flights, you save massive amounts of time. Having your own aircraft, massive time saver if you're gonna do like 45-minute commutes, right? Huge time saver. But the break even is about 250 hours a year. Over the last 3 years, I flew about 800 hours, which works out to about 266 hours a year on average. And at a break even of about 266 hours per year, I was probably running this aircraft at like $7,000 an hour, roughly, all the costs included and everything, which I was okay paying for that. But I don't think I'm gonna fly 250 hours a year. I think if I just use a NetJets or like a Wheels Up card, I'll probably fly like 50 hours a year for these shorter term flights. And then I don't have to deal with parking it in a hangar, de-icing it, paying landing fees, dealing with all the bull crap that you have to deal with actually reserving the spot for the aircraft. Like, it doesn't matter. If I fly somewhere and it's a NetJets, they take me to Heber and they empty leg somewhere else, I don't have to worry about getting a hangar space for that aircraft. Like, that's somebody else's problem. There's a lot of peace of mind in that, and I don't actually have to fly it, which, don't get me wrong, I love takeoff and landing, But when you're on like a 4-hour flight somewhere on the Phenom cross country, it gets a little boring. Takeoff and landing is fun, but when you're cruising at 45,000 feet, you're kind of just up there like, all right, autopilot's still set, looking good. You're not really doing anything. Like, you could be replaced by AI very easily. Now, takeoff and landing, you want professional pilots. Emergencies, you want professionals who are trained in emergencies. This is why I would go train stalls and stuff. But then again, it also requires the time commitment to do that training, right? So it's like, with that Jets and Wheels up, you could just sit in the back, get pampered with sushi or champagne or whatever, which, like, I didn't drink when I was flying because as a pilot, like, I look back and I see everybody else taking shots of Fireball and I'm sitting in the front like, sober but ready for the emergency. Come on, give me something to do. Not that you ever wish an emergency, but it's just like, man, I'm bored, dude. You know? So the jet was a utility. It was there when I needed it, but when I became a pilot, it became more of a training tool than anything else. And then I'm like, why am I doing this? I'm training 10 hours for every 1 hour that I'm actually utilizing it. Like, I'm looking for excuses to go fly, and this doesn't make sense. Like, I'm burning jet fuel for nothing. And that gets to the lifestyle aspect. I'm not a lifestyle YouTuber. I don't consider myself to be a Rolex or flashy big mansion guy. I live in a small house with no driveway. It's so small. In fairness, we had to buy the house next door, which is also a small house, because we live in a small neighborhood in Southern California. The weather is amazing. The neighbors are amazing. The families that live here are amazing. Halloweens are amazing. Can you guess what I'm gonna be this year? I'm gonna be a clown. Okay, I deserve it. I made a bet. I lost the bet. I'm gonna be a clown. But we love it here. We think we're getting a wedge deal on where we live. Like, we should be paying $4 or $5 million for a house for the weather that we have here. We're paying like 900 grand. It's not that big of a deal to have the most beautiful weather in the United States. But again, I'm not Mr. Flashy, Lambo, Rolex. Yeah, I'm gonna buy a Tesla. Yeah, I'm gonna buy a Sprinter for my kids. And I'm grateful that I'm able to afford buying a house next door, which I realize that's bougie. But it's also, when you have 7 kids, you kind of need it. So now we finally have like 4,000 square feet, but it's divided into 2 homes, which is also kind of weird. We just don't want to move. So anyway, so what's the future? The future here is really playing it safe, focus on family, and just keep providing value for my AI startup and my real estate startup. It's one and the same. It's househack.com. Reinvest. It's the same thing. It's just a DBA, all right? Same company. There are no other entities. Like, if you're an investor in HouseHack or you're considering being an investor in HouseHack, you're an investor in Reinvest. It's the same thing. So, like, some things that I did learn, though, from being a pilot, triple checking. Not because I don't trust other people, like my co-pilots that I flew with, but because I am mentally incapable now of not triple checking checklists. And I love it. I became a more patient person. I think I became a more humble person. I think I became a more patient person. Like, I think all around through this experience, I became a better person. I believe that now enables me to provide better value for you because I have all these experiences now, in addition to what I had before. I also realized that, like, I would park my jet next to people like Taylor Swift and Mark Cuban and Jeff Bezos. It ain't that different. Their world isn't that different. I know this is like probably the most unrelatable thing, but I'm saying it because I got into the same, Escalade SUVs. I walked into the same fixed-based operators, the FBOs, the lounges, the golf cart treatment, whatever, coming off your aircraft. Bro, give me a Toyota Camry and let me go do my job. Like, it was just a utility. Like, I get it. It's cool, the whole, like, jet setting idea. But there's nothing more interesting to me right now than providing great value on YouTube and building a greenhouse with my kids. I also care a lot about safety. It's actually one of the reasons I kind of wanted to fly, because I wanted to feel more safe flying. So I wanted to see what all goes into it. And again, I think I was a great pilot when I was flying all of the time. I could butter my landings. I was really, really proficient. But as soon as I went to Japan, and then I took 3 weeks off of flying, and then I come back and I'm like, oh, I've lost some of the butter. It's not like driving where you just get back in the car and you're mostly good again. You really have to be flying all of the time to be great. And I don't want to be a good pilot. I only want to fly if I'm a great pilot. And again, I think I was, but as soon as I realized I was no longer staying great, it was time for me to be done. And so I have a great respect for the profession. I'm so grateful that I did it, but I don't need to keep doing it. It's just not worth it for me in my situation. So now I want to give some shout outs. Okay, so if you're thinking about getting into aviation, All In Aviation in Henderson is a fantastic place to go. Book yourself a local like Marriott hotel or a Holiday Inn, go to All In Aviation and get trained in how to become a private pilot. You could use their Cessnas or their Cirrus aircraft. The Cirrus aircraft are more expensive. It's like the more Rolls-Royce version of the Cessna training, right? I liked it because it had a parachute. To me, it felt safer. And it was also a Garmin 3000 flight deck, which is what I would have been flying in the Phenom anyway, and then of course eventually was. So it was a very easy transition to go from Cirrus to Phenom. So for many reasons, it made sense for me to use a Cirrus to train instead of a Cessna. That said, shout out to All In. I wish they did multi-engine training. I went to, I think it was Blue Aviation in Florida. Just outside of Orlando, Blue something. Blue Line Aviation, maybe? I don't know. Something blue in outside of Orlando. I think it was in like Winter Haven or something like that. They were cool. I was only there for like 3 or 4 days, got my multi-engine license, and then I got out of there. So shout out to All In Aviation and the multi-engine people in Florida. Shout out to Airfleet Capital for financing the aircraft with a 20-year fixed rate loan with no remargining provision. That's a big deal. Because if you go into a recession and you have a plane loan and there's a remargining provision, the bank can literally call you and go, yo, we need you to put another $1 million down on the plane. Otherwise, we're going to foreclose on it. Now, I never ran into that issue, but it's just like it could happen, right? JP Morgan Chase, they are scum. They are absolute dirt scum. They have done nothing for me in my career. And I'm going to make a whole separate video on this. And I don't like bagging on people, but I thought that if I built a relationship with a bank for 15 years, it might actually come with some perks. It doesn't. Basically, what they want you to do is sell your stocks. They pressure you to sell stocks so you can buy their JP Morgan funds and they can make more money. In exchange, did they ever give me any of their institutional research? No. I had to buy it from different sources. So screw you, JP Morgan. You couldn't even give me your own research, even though I was a client of yours, and promoting you, which I regret promoting you. How about real estate loans? Nope. Can't finance people with more than 4 properties. Well, screw you, JP Morgan. You're worthless. How about a plane loan? Oh, yeah, 7-year adjustable rate mortgage, basically, on a plane with a remargining provision and like 40% down. Airfleet Capital, on the other hand, 20% down. No remargining provision, 20-year fixed rate financing. Then I'm like, what good are you, JP Morgan? And then I'm like, hey, JP Morgan, how about like a blanket loan on our single family real estate? Oh, no. We don't do that. We don't do that. And then I call other guys that do this stuff. And they're like, yeah, we could do interest only, 20% down on investment property for corporate entity. No problem. We'll finance it all day long. We'll even do a 40-year loan where we'll do 10 years interest only, amortized over the next 30. So I'm like, every reason I would have wanted a bank, JP Morgan sucked for. I guess I've made my whole JP Morgan video right here. And then you look at the technology and it's antiquated. The apps are antiquated. Like, I like the Sapphire card. I got to give them credit for that. But, you know, the Capital One Venture card, Venture X card is a nice replacement for that. But anyway, like, what the hell, JP Morgan? You guys suck so much. And then the infrastructure sucks. Like, I'd much rather use Mercury. I think I've sponsored banners for this stuff. Like, this is all sincere. Like, you don't have to use this stuff. Like, I don't even want, I'm not even going to put it up because I don't want people to think this is like a sponsored pitch for these things. I don't care. Don't use my affiliate link. Mercury is such a better bank with technology. Intuit banking is good too for certain purposes, like recurring bills or payroll or whatever. That as a combination is so much better than what JP Morgan could have ever done for me. So sincerely, especially now that I'm debt free, a royal double middle fingers to JP Morgan. Airfleet Capital, y'all rock. Air 7, greatest cookie FBO ever. Camarillo, thank you. Shout out to Air 7. If you need a hangar in aircraft, Ventura County, Air 7. Call up my boy Matt. Okay, these are great people. If you need to buy or sell an aircraft, call Spencer Bain. That's Brain without the R. It took me a while to think of something for that. I don't know how easy he is to Google, so sorry. I hope you appreciate this. But his number is 630-414-1293 if you need to buy or sell a plane. You can text him too. He's great. Okay. This guy is such a brilliant bastard. He bought me a discovery flight in November of 2024 at All In Aviation. And he's like, oh, you should try to, fly a Cirrus. And so he paid for the discovery flight for me. At least I think he did. I don't know. Maybe they had some other deal going on or whatever. But it was so nice. It was like a nice treat. And then I caught the aviation bug. And then I wanted to be a pilot. And then I'm like, I don't want to be a pilot anymore. And I'm going to sell the plane because I got multiple offers. And so who am I going to call? Spencer. You're brilliant, bro. But you're also really good at what you do. So thank you. Seriously. Badass, dude. You got me into becoming a pilot, and you helped me buy a plane twice. And you helped me sell a plane once. Long story. So then there's Charlie. Charlie, you're a badass plane manager. Thank you. Business Aviation Solutions. I don't know if people can look him up. If not, here's his number. You can text him too. 805-907-2422. Pilots, if you need a great Phenom pilot, first of all, the god of Phenom pilots is Sean Thomas out of Dallas. He basically runs the Phenom pilots forum, and he will be able to help you find a pilot. But otherwise, really, really enjoyed my time flying. Probably the pilots that I flew with the most that I think I really also learned from the most would have been Travis, also known as Brian from Texas, Tanner Cavanis from Naples. Thank you very much. You can find these folks on Phenom Pilots. John from Florida. You're fun to fly with too, man. Thank you. VJ and Chandler. I never personally got to fly with you, but you were my pilots for a very long time. Y'all rock. Connor Donnelly. You rock. I'll never forget flying in Kamloops with you. Or 30-knot crosswinds. You stuck 'em, man. Pretty badass. Jerry from Long Beach. You're like the drill sergeant guy that I love learning from, so thank you. Like most chill during 90% of the flight, but then takeoff and land, like your inner military comes out. And having been a police explorer for 3 years and going through like drill, and actually also drilling other people, I actually loved it. So it was great training, great job. Frankie from All In Aviation, nobody hits flight patterns at 10 p.m. quite like we did, thank you. Chris from All In Aviation, first flight with you, and also my first solo with you. In fact, I think I have video of me. This was me just after I landed, my first solo ever in Kingman, Arizona. And we butted it. So thank you. Dana from All In, thank you. Really, thank you, everybody at the All In crew. Y'all are freaking amazing. But I'll never forget our flight from the International Fun Place to Havasu for dinner before they closed. Badass. That was really fun. Thank you. And then, of course, I flew with so many of y'all at All In Aviation. It was just a complete blast. There were so many fun opportunities we had there and flights we had, and training out of the Jean Airport is pretty wild too. But anyway. Yeah. Is there going to be depreciation recapture? Yeah. And there are a lot of strategies for sheltering the tax hit, the recapture. I'll pay Uncle Sam and I'll be done. There are also a few other ways to get out of the Venus flytrap, some of the strategies we talk about in the Trumponomics course. But broadly, I just want to say really thank you to everyone. If you want to learn more about tax strategies or ideas for building wealth, go join the Meet Kevin membership. You pay once, you get lifetime access, you get my top 10 stocks to buy for the next 10 years, all 8 courses, every private live stream and alpha report. You get that every morning when the market is open, all the courses, all the new lectures. If you're interested in potentially diversifying to real estate, consider investing in Reinvest. You could also go to househack.com. The company name is HouseHack Inc., doing business as Reinvest now. And so you can invest, you can earn a 5% yield and 100% of the stock upside. That's exactly what I'm buying as well. It's asset backed, and we've got some really cool things coming with AI and otherwise, which is really cool. Make sure to read the offering circular because this video can't be a solicitation. And there you have it. There's my full story. Thank you so very much. I am so grateful for all of you, and we'll see y'all Monday, when we're back for stock videos and market videos.
Why not advertise these things that you told us here? I feel like nobody else knows about this.
We'll try a little advertising and see how it goes.
Congratulations, man. You have done so much. People love you. People look up to you.
Kevin Paffrath there, financial analyst and YouTuber. Meet Kevin. Always great to get your take.